In Russia's Lake Baikal region, a mysterious encrypted tale once circulated. In 1982, during training in Lake Baikal, a pair of Soviet frogmen reportedly encountered a group of unknown beings at a depth of 50 meters. The Soviet authorities later referred to these beings as the Baikal swimmers. In 2009, Russia declassified a batch of former Soviet archives. Within them were records that seemed to bring the Baikal swimmers from urban legend into reality. So what exactly are these mysterious swimmers? The remnants of an unknown species or mere rumor? Today, we'll discuss these mysterious swimmers that may lurk beneath the waters. In the summer of 1982, at Issyk-Kul Lake in Central Asia, the Soviet Central Asian Military District was conducting frogman training. These frogmen were in fact Soviet underwater reconnaissance divers. Issyk-Kul Lake is located in Kyrgyzstan. It is the world's second largest mountain lake, at an average altitude of 1,600 meters, with an area of 6,230 square kilometers, an average depth of over 270 meters, and a maximum depth of 668 meters. Tang Dynasty monk Xuanzang once referred to Issyk-Kul as the Great Clear Pond in his Western Regions records, describing it as a place where fish and dragons coexisted, spirits and monsters emerged, so travelers passing by would always pray. This meant that beyond ordinary creatures, supernatural beings were said to appear. Fishermen dared not fish recklessly, and merchants prayed before crossing. Local folklore even speaks of a sunken city beneath the lake. Its people were said to be tall with long ears, but the city collapsed into the depths during an earthquake. In the 1930s, three young locals diving in the lake discovered a cave. Its entrance was underwater, and after swimming through, they emerged into the cave and unexpectedly found three skeletons. These skeletons resembled humans but were abnormally tall, measuring between 2.7 and 3 meters. Of course, such legends are at best bizarre folk tales, difficult to verify. So, in 1982, when the Soviets trained frogmen here, what exactly did they discover? To be blunt, in reality they discovered nothing, because an unexpected incident prevented the divers from entering the water at all. That day, the Soviet officer in charge of training, Steinberg, was preparing his men to dive. Just as the divers had put on their gear and were about to enter the water, an unexpected guest hurried over. It was Major General Demyanenko from the Soviet Ministry of Defense, responsible for directing and training engineering troops and military divers. Let's just call him Old Demyan. He arrived sweating, rushed to the scene, and immediately called off the training. The divers already had one foot in the water, and now suddenly being stopped left them completely confused. As the divers packed up their equipment, Old Demyan pulled Steinberg aside and began recounting a recent frogman training accident at Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal lies in Siberia, Russia, spanning Irkutsk Oblast in the Republic of Buryatia. The lake covers over 31,000 square kilometers, has an average depth of 740 meters, a maximum depth of over 1,700 meters, and is the largest freshwater reservoir in the world. In 1982, a team of over 40 frogmen was sent there for intensive training. On the very first day, they dove down to a depth of 50 meters. At that depth, visibility was extremely poor. 8 frogmen swam through the dark, icy waters, navigating by memory and underwater beacons. Suddenly, they saw a patch of light ahead, and within it, faint silhouettes of figures swimming. The divers quickly realized these swimmers could not possibly be fellow Soviet troops. They were enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, and carried no diving equipment, only wearing a sort of spherical glass helmet. The beings did not appear aggressive. They kept their distance, swam alongside for a while, and then vanished. After training ended, the frogmen immediately reported to their officers ashore. The commanders were equally puzzled. What exactly were these glowing swimmers in the lake? According to the diver's description, they didn't seem human, yet bore the physique of some mysterious warrior race. After deliberation, the officers made a bold decision not to stop training, but to select 7 elite divers to form a special unit with the goal of capturing one of the beings alive. So, the 7 divers once again descended to around 50 meters, carrying a net. Before long, they once again saw the mysterious swimmers. They still wore their spherical helmets, gliding within a glow, and continued to appear friendly. The 7 frogmen kept a certain distance from the mysterious swimmers. The frogman squad slowly approached one of the mysterious beings and quietly spread the net they had brought. But just as they were about to close the net, an accident occurred. A tremendous force came from nowhere, hurling all 7 divers from 50 meters underwater straight up to the surface. They were catapulted out of the water, flying about 15 meters into the air before crashing back down. Local Buryat fishermen nearby witnessed the scene from afar and were stunned. They thought, could the Soviets be conducting some kind of anti-gravity experiment? How could divers fly out of the lake like that? But the fishermen had no idea that the divers were in serious trouble. Being thrown from 50 meters deep to the surface in an instant caused massive pressure changes in their lungs. Air that had dissolved into their blood under high pressure was suddenly released, expanding rapidly into bubbles. Some bubbles entered the circulatory system, causing dangerous air embolisms. The commanding officer panicked and, together with rescuers, hauled the divers ashore and rushed them into decompression chambers. Decompression chambers maintained pressure similar to underwater conditions, allowing the trapped air to be released gradually, preventing embolism. Although treatment was timely, each chamber was designed for only 2 people, and only 2 were available. 7 divers crammed into 2 chambers, which rendered the treatment ineffective. The tragic result? 3 of the team died, and the remaining 4 were permanently disabled, unable to continue service. Since Old Demyan was in charge of military diving training and knew all district schedules, once he learned the next training was set for Issyk-Kul, he rushed there to stop it. He feared Issyk-Kul's depths might also harbor such beings, so he halted training to prevent another tragedy. Shortly afterward, the Kyrgyzstan Military District Headquarters received orders from the Soviet Army High Command to investigate whether Issyk-Kul was suitable for training. The Soviet Ministry of Defense also circulated a secret report to all districts, highlighting lakes and seas where phenomena similar to Baikal had been observed: humanoid underwater beings, unidentified fast-moving objects, strange underwater lights, and so on. The report instructed all units to stay alert and prevent such accidents from happening again. Since many Buryat fishermen witnessed the Baikal incident, rumors about it continued to circulate locally. But as time passed, the Baikal swimmers became little more than a legend to be retold. Originally, the topic had faded into obscurity. But in 2009, a declassified Russian archive unexpectedly mentioned the bizarre 1982 frogman training accident at Lake Baikal. Furthermore, according to the declassified files, in 1986, the Soviet Union even established a special investigation team to study the incident. Although the results remain classified, it at least proves that the incident truly occurred. A few years after the files were released, a man claiming to be the leader of that investigation team suddenly appeared, once again bringing the Baikal swimmers into public attention. This man, under the alias Demidenko, stated that before retirement he had worked in the Soviet Ministry of Defense, engaged in cartography and geological surveys. He explained that he was chosen to lead the 1986 Baikal investigation not only because he was familiar with the region's geology and water temperatures, but also because he spoke 9 minority languages of the Soviet Far East, including Buryat. In 1986, Demidenko was ordered to lead the team to Lake Baikal to investigate the mysterious swimmers. Since we already had Old Demyan, to avoid confusion, let's call Demidenko Old Den. Upon arriving at Lake Baikal, Old Den quickly found several Buryat fishermen who had witnessed the diving accident. The fishermen vividly described the sight of divers being launched into the air. But when asked whether any unusual phenomena had occurred earlier at the lake bottom, they, despite working there year-round, were completely at a loss. Moreover, when 2 divers from the investigation team descended to the same 50-meter depth, they found nothing unusual. The investigation quickly reached a deadlock. Left with no choice, Old Den sought out Old Demyan, who had by then retired and was living in Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, hoping for clues. As expected, Old Demyan did not disappoint. At the mere mention of the Baikal swimmers, he recalled and recounted many things, including a strange event in May 1964, predating the mysterious being's appearance. He said that about 20 kilometers from Ulan-Ude, the capital of the Buryat Republic, an air defense missile unit had once been stationed. On the evening of May 17, 1964, after the sun had set, a strong light suddenly appeared in the skies over Lake Baikal. The light quickly spread across the surroundings, visible even from the missile unit's base. The unit commander reasoned. The sun had already set, so such intense illumination was impossible. Thus, he suspected the glow was caused by a fire in the nearby taiga forest. This forest, also known as the Northern Coniferous Forest, taiga, is spread across the temperate zone of the Northern Hemisphere, with Siberia being the densest region. Thus, the unit quickly dispatched several soldiers to investigate the site. Yet when the soldiers reached Lake Baikal, they were utterly stunned. They saw an orange fireball hovering right above the lake's surface. The fireball seemed alive, pulsing and emitting a dazzling glow. The soldiers even felt as though they were staring at the midday sun. They immediately drove back to base to report to their superiors. As it was during the Cold War, the commander immediately ordered an alarm, put the base on high alert, and had radiation meters brought out to check for abnormalities. But strangely, the fireball appeared to follow the 2 returning soldiers and suddenly manifested less than a kilometer from the base, hovering about 10 meters above ground as it slowly approached. At this moment, the commander discovered that all radio communications were down, with only wired telephones still functioning. Meanwhile, radiation measurements came back completely normal. The fireball kept moving closer, yet its light slowly dimmed. The panicked commander ordered all vents sealed and the soldiers to hide in shelters. An hour later, when they emerged, the surroundings were pitch black. The fireball had vanished, and communications were restored. Afterwards, Soviet Defense Ministry specialists arrived to investigate, but found no trace at all. Old Demyan told Old Den that he sensed a connection between the fireball incident and the Baikal swimmers. So, what do you think? Could these mysterious beings truly be humanoids with advanced technology and amphibious abilities, as Old Den speculated? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.